Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Today, I am with not only Emily Dean, but also Steve Hall has returned.
Good morning.
Hi,
Steve Hall in the house. See how many buildings I can get into one. Okay, so welcome back, Steve. It's always a joy to have you
Thanks.
on.
Delighted to be back. I always get quite jealous when I listen to the Cockerel.
Oh, yeah.
I sort of wish illness upon him.
Oh, my goodness. Do you really? Have you got a cockerel who you stick pins in at home?
Yeah. Well, I met up with him before.
A real one?
We had dinner on the Friday the other week before the night before.
Did you socialise it with the cockerel?
I'm sure about it. I didn't know the staff got together behind my back.
Why weren't we invited?
Well, I was trying to make him ill. I was just trying to cough on his food while he was.
Oh,
his back was turned.
People just got up. They don't want to hear
There's
about
people coughing on their food at home.
I've had a disturbing week.
What's happened?
Disturbing. Do you ever read a book that genuinely upsets you? I don't mean, like, I don't know, Camp David.
No.
I mean like a novel that you find. I read The Road by Cormac McCarthy this week.
Oh, yes. I'm familiar.
I was properly upset. Properly disturbed, and it was affecting my, the way I reacted to other people. I became bleaked out, which I think is a title of Charles Dickens.
So it's a bit.
I cried, in fact. I properly cried. It's what it is. It's like post-nuclear. I suppose it's America. That's never made clear.
Oh, right, okay.
So it's a father and his son trekking across a post-nuclear wasteland.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, there's a bit of cannibalism. But, you think, it's a book. I can't tell you I don't know. I mean, I'm a big book fan, but I associate crying and getting upset more with films.
Were you crying all the way through, or was there any individual bits, like a particular...
Well, obviously, I mean, spoiler alert, but I mean, towards the end... I lost it. It's quite difficult to read when you're crying.
Yes, especially tears on the Kindle. I won't tolerate it.
Tears on my Kindle, in my heart.
Is this because you being a child of the Cold War? Did the nuclear panic?
I suppose it made me think, let's face it, this is... I don't really anticipate... I know North Korea occasionally throw their hat into the ring, but I don't really anticipate nuclear war anymore like I did when I was growing up.
Yeah, I think of it as a bit 80s.
I suppose it made me think of Broken Britain, if I'm going to be absolutely honest. And then I started thinking, where did it all go wrong, Broken Britain? And I think I've nailed it down to... a documentary that was on in 1969 called The Royal Family.
All right.
Have you ever heard of it? It was fly on the wall, sort of, documentary about the royal family, in which, at last, we were allowed to see them as normal people. And after that, British society collapsed.
And was it the Duke of Edinburgh and a young Prince Charles walking through a nuclear wasteland?
It was... if only, that would have been brilliant.
I bet they were wearing kilts. They were always wearing kilts, weren't they, for this documentary?
Yeah.
They loved a kilt.
Talking about the goons.
Yeah. Or they love a goon.
Oh. So, yeah, I think that's where it all went wrong. Do you know that 2/3 of the population watched that documentary? But it's never, ever, ever been repeated. And the theory is that the royal family watched it and thought, we've made the worst mistake. Now people think we're ordinary people. All sense of order in society will break down. And they were spot on. Anyway, I'm now reading Doctor Who and the Loch Ness Monster, which I really needed to read something that wouldn't upset me so much. But I would like to...
Can I just say it's been who this morning? Sorry, Frank.
But I didn't... it's a big night tonight.
Oh, is it? What's the night?
The second part of the series begins tonight.
Oh.
So, I can't remember. I think 101 Dalmatians, I think I cried at a book.
Oh, did you? Oh, I tell you, I have a big issue with literary animal deaths.
I've never cried at the big issue. I mean, that shows a tremendous social conscience on your part. Now, we'll come to this. I'd like, if anyone else, I think it's quite weird to cry at a book. I think I cry at films a lot, but if anyone of our readers have ever cried at a book, just text us what book it was, and I'm going to see how many teary books I can read on the trot.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
We've had a fantastic response to your what books have made you cry recently.
Okay.
Text in. In fact, we've had so many that I'm losing track of them all. Frank, the road is horrifically bleak. Accidentally took an ex-girlfriend to see the movie on a first date.
I can't face the film now.
Having caught only a snippet of a good review on the radio. Whoops. Although we did go back to her place straight after to prove we were both still alive. Great success.
You could call that having one for the road.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
I think it sounds like it's worth getting on DVD. What a strange response. I didn't feel like that at all.
Yeah.
Some people go to the physical pleasures. Some people go to Doctor Who and the Loch Ness Monster. You need some sort of convalescence after this book, clearly.
We've been warned. 546 has warned us that it said Frank, Doctor Who and the Loch Ness Monster is pretty teary.
Oh, God. I mean, there's deaths in it, certainly. There's deaths galore.
437.
Spoiler alert.
437, Les Liaisons Dangereuses, wept like a babe. What sort of a babe?
French babe. Does that mean they read it in French?
Presumably.
They wept like a pig in the city.
Yes.
If you're familiar with that form of babe.
Oh, I see. What Les Liaisons Dangereuses?
Yes.
Is that same film that John Malkovich?
It's exactly that same film.
I seem to remember that being wall-to-wall filth. And I cried.
It was a little bit blue.
I cried, but it was nostalgic. I cried for what had been lost.
I have a real problem with, I think I was saying earlier, it's sort of animal deaths I can't cope with.
Okay.
That's what's always made me cry. Even sometimes, Lion the Witch in the Wardrobe, Aslan, I can't bear that. When he's slain on the stone table.
Spoiler alert. I think there is a twist in the tale there, though, isn't there?
Well, there is. I didn't understand the sort of religious metaphor, though, that was going on here.
I've never read any children's books, you see, because I only read comics until I was 21.
Did you?
And, So, the Dalmatians thing I read in retrospect. I love the film so much.
That you call it the Dalmatians thing?
Yeah, the Dalmatians thing.
Did you cry at any comics?
Oh, no, I don't think
I cried in 1986 in Roy of the Rovers. They killed off most of the team in a horrific way, and there were only 5 survivors. And I remember,
Is it really?
yeah, it was quite controversial at the time. I remember crying my eyes out about that.
Oh, blimey.
Roy Race was one of the few survivors. If anyone remembers that.
I thought he might get through. Otherwise, the whole comic title would fall to pieces. Anyway, we started very sad today, but I am... What else? What other books?
278, Morning Frank, Emily and Steve. I remember crying when reading The Jungle Book. That's Debt from Dave.
I cried
That's a strange thing to cry at.
I saw Lady and the Tramp. And that bit...
Did that make you cry?
Where you think the Scotty dog's dead.
Oh, right, okay.
But again, it was more resurrection imagery from the children's books world, and he comes back in bathed in light. It's turned into a lovely Easter theme. Thank goodness for that.
351 cried to "We need to talk about Kevin," and then said, "With hindsight, reading it whilst trying to deal with postnatal depression following the birth of my second son, not a good idea."
No, I think whatever you'd read. In that state. Well, I hope you better know. Who's that from?
That's from 351.
351. If I can speak to you intimately by number, I hope you better know, because that's a terrible thing. Okay, well, I don't want to tear out the whole nation.
No.
But I'm interested in that. But I tell you, The Road. I can't. It's brilliant, but don't read it.
Okay.
Frank Skinner, Absolute Radio.
Talking about books that make us cry.
You are.
No, I think the entire triumvirate are. Actually, I
sorry,
think you're
right.
fine.
You're right. Sorry, I just had a flashback to my school days for a minute.
Something that happens often. You've just revealed off-air something that made you cry, which makes me feel so ill I can't even go there. 315. Frank, it wasn't the Scotty dog in Lady and the Tramp, it was the Bloodhound. My 2-year-old makes me watch it once a week.
Isn't it terrible when something like that happens, when something is a significant thing in your life and then you find out years later that you've remembered it wrong? That happens to me so often. I could have put money that it was Lyndon B. Johnson who was shot in Dallas. I only found out 2 months ago it was... Is that right?
Apparently so.
I thought I remembered the Scotty dog with his paw in a sling.
No.
It was the Bloodhound. Look again.
No, that was one of those funny videos of yours.
Perhaps it's been redrawn.
Yeah.
Because the Scotty dog got it was seen to be racist.
There's a director's cut of Lady in the Tramp.
Yeah, exactly. By a Scottish director. Well, I will not have that dog almost killed. But, hey, Jack, we can't change yours. Well, you know what says in my contract. Complete control. But, Jack, this film's iconic. Well, let's ask the frozen head. Keep the frozen head out of this.
I love Jock, the director.
In case you don't know, Walt Disney's head is... yeah, I do, but Walt Disney. He's cryogenically preserved, Walt Disney.
Is he really?
Yeah.
That's what Simon Cowell wants as
I wonder
well.
if they kept the tash. Because he's going to look a bit old-fashioned when he comes out with that tash.
I liked his evil villain moustache.
If he realises it's out of fashion, just go freeze me again.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I can't face the world
They'll be
like this.
back. Just freeze me until he comes back.
That's what I said to my surgeon last week. Freeze me again. We had another text in, and I can't remember. 671. Fried green tomatoes at the Whistle Stop Cafe. I read it on holiday in Lanzarote, and thank God for sunglasses, as lots of tears shed.
See, I honestly thought people didn't cry at books.
Yeah.
I thought people cried at... although a friend of mine told me that he cried at Jane Eyre.
Oh, yes, that's very sad.
But I thought films I cry all the time.
Yeah.
But books.
I've only credit one book, which is The Unfortunates by B.S. Johnson.
Well, the clue's in the title, love.
Yeah.
If it was called The Fortunates, then that's going to be a happy
I was a
read,
fool. I was
isn't
a
it?
fool to myself.
Emily wrote actually The Fortunates as an answer to that book.
Yeah.
Oh, B.S. Johnson.
which sounds that he committed suicide in 1973 at the tender age of 40.
Spoiler alert.
And but he'd written a book.
Spoiler alert.
Well, for people who are reading the biography of B.S.
Which
Johnson,
is
that's
called
brilliant.
Like a Fiery Elephant by Jonathan Coe.
I imagine he taught quite a lot of rubbish with a name like B.S. Johnson. No, I've read the B.S. Holly Walsh, when she was on the show, she bought me a B.S. Johnson.
Did she
Well,
buy
you had your own
Christy
little book.
Morley? Did she buy it? Or
Christy Morley?
The double...
that the
Christy
Irish?
Morley's own double entry. That's it.
I don't like the sound of that.
Keep it clean. You should have learnt
The
that.
first time I ever gigged with Holly, she said she watched my set and said, "Are you a fan of B.S. Johnson?" And
Oh my
knew
God, she's
instantly,
tried it
so
on with everyone, the B.S.
We
Johnson
bonded
line.
over B.S. Johnson.
Well, she
Yeah,
bonded
lovely.
with Frank, so that's awkward.
Well, yeah, she spreads her B.S. Johnson's thin. Anyway, this is getting like the book show now. We'll need Mariella Frostrop in a minute. I'm sorry if we've alienated anyone in a tour T-shirt.
Yeah, sorry
Don't
about
worry.
that.
We'll be talking about Zeppelin quite soon. Listen in.
Frank
Skinner.
on Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
Let's talk about Prince Harry, actually, Frank, because
We need to talk about Harry.
We do. That made me cry. Well, this will make him cry because he had a bit of bad news. I don't know if you saw, but I always think with Harry, he never had William's dashing looks, but what he always had in his arsenal was, at least I've got the hair. Do you know what I mean? He wasn't the heir to the throne. He wasn't
He
quite
wasn't
as
the heir
handsome.
to the throne, but he was the heir to the
He
throne.
was, Frank. He had that lovely bushy ginger crown.
Yeah.
And no more.
I'm glad that Ginger has been spoken of as in a positive way.
Why?
Because it's starting to look like my child is going to be.
Don't be a piece of the wild by mistake.
You know my child boss.
Yeah.
It's looking like he is Ginger.
Lovely. Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I've decided I do as well.
I've got a bit of a weakness. I think it's the Damian Lewis thing. I love a
I
redhead.
did get Buzz some work as a Harry lookalike.
Well, who knows? I could at the moment actually, because he's still quite bald.
Well, Harry's thinning at the Crown. There was a photograph taken.
That's
of him.
ironic, isn't it?
It's the only kind of thinning I won't tolerate, to be honest. But he's thinning at the Crown, and I felt quite sorry for him. He was bending over. Did you notice it? Did you see any of the pictures? It's only a
Yes.
small amount of
No,
thinning.
you can see this.
Yeah.
It's going all right. I told you about that friend of mine who was going at the Crown and didn't know.
No.
And he leaned back on the two legs of his chair and he felt the cold of the wall against the top of his head, and that was when he knew. What a time to find
I
out.
suppose it creeps up on you as a man, doesn't it?
Well, do you reckon Charles is there going, now that he's definitely going bald, Charles is going, you see, that's my boy.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
definitely not Hewitt.
Well, yeah.
Can we just say we never thought for one second here on Absolute Radio that anything was different?
I like the newspapers contacted a hair loss expert to discuss it, which I liked. And this chap who's called Asim Shah Malak says, that sounded a bit racist, but it wasn't. I just don't know how to pronounce his name properly. I like that he said the signs are not good for Harry, which I thought was quite hard. But he
That
recommends...
sounded racist. 'Cause
Yeah.
That sounded like he'd just thrown some bones onto the floor. I can't feel sorry. I mean, genuinely, I have sympathy for a balding man.
Do you?
Steve's looking at me. I can't look at him. I can't look him in the eye.
Well, it's... yeah, I'm a balding man.
Yeah, but whereas...
For the listeners out
You
there.
know,
But you've got...
congratulations. That's got a lot of courage to
You're a
speak
married
out.
man, Steve.
Indeed, yeah. Well,
Are you
you're right.
suggesting that's
well,
an
it's like,
achievement?
it's like I got married and my hair gave up.
Well, that's
It-
all.
it
What
held
you
on
did,
for long enough.
you rushed to get married before it disappeared. That was wise. But if you're
That's
a
what William did, let's
you're
be
a-
honest.
Yeah, but if you're a prince, though, it's not. You can look like anything.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
going to get girls. You know what I mean? That's celebrity. I mean, I'll give two words to Prince Harry that might cheer him up. Greg Wallace. It's all right if you're famous. It's all right to be bald. If you aren't, it's an absolute disaster.
Yeah.
Really?
Which
But listen, certainly, if you're going to be bald in a profession, being in the royal family, I mean, you can wear hats all day and every day,
Yeah, but the
can't
thing
you?
is about crowns is often they don't have any middles to them, which is
Oh, Frank,
the
you're
bit
right.
that you want covering. What he needs to do
Can have a little
is he needs to
pincushion.
convert to Judaism. That's what with his hairstyle.
Well,
I'd get Easter out the way first if I was you, but
I'd like to know his moment that he realised, because that's the moment you realise you're a balding man is always so with your friend and touching the metal on the back of his head. For me, I was walking down a street and a 9-year-old kid shouted at me, "Ooh, forehead!"
oh really? Oh, it's a cruel way to find. I reckon that Harry found out from the papers. I think it was like that. It's like when people get dropped from the England squad and they say I was found up by a journalist.
Yeah.
I reckon that's how it happened.
Or when I've been dumped in the past.
Because who looks at the back? Who looks at the back of their head? You know, it's God. Him and William, they're going to look like the Mitchells. Give them 12 months.
One of our readers, actually, Frank, 865, has texted in to say, "Hello, Frank. I realised I was losing my hair while in a petrol station. The CCTV was filming the back of my head, so I did something the royals can't do, and I had my head shaved."
In the middle of the petrol station.
Yes. He was Britney Spears, to be fair.
That's another shocking way to find out, though. It'd be great if that was just from Britney randomly. How lovely that would be. If we could get Lindsay Lohan and maybe Thingy now. What's he called? Who's the big
Who's that?
star?
Oh,
Kid.
Bieber.
Bieber.
Oh,
That's it.
he's got in trouble with that
that's
monkey.
a terrible senior moment there.
Oh, what's happened with that monkey, Frank?
No, but he's gone the same way.
He's gone
a bit balmy, which is...
Yeah, he's gone a bit wacko.
I know Steve doesn't believe this. Steve thinks it's all publicity.
Yeah, well,
Do you?
yeah, I think it's...
We should say, so he was trying to smuggle a
trying to
monkey.
take a monkey as hand luggage.
Yeah.
Now, he knows.
Oh, like everyone hasn't done that.
Yeah. I mean, for a start-up, they've essentially got 4 hands.
Yeah.
So that's too much for a start-up. You can't take an animal, and it wasn't even in a cage. It had just been wandering around.
He was on a private plane. You can do whatever you like on a private plane.
I was on a private...
Trust me, I've been on one. You can do whatever you like.
It's a strange thing that he's basically gone now. Pop stars, there's been one famous pop star who was renowned for having a monkey that he hung around with.
Yeah.
And his career isn't blotted in any way.
No,
I'll copy him.
I think he's chose the correct characteristic to go for. Though, if you're going to pick a Michael Jackson peccadillo, for
Yeah.
God's sake, go for the monkey. So he's done well there, at least. No, well, even on a private jet, or as they said in the tabloids this morning, a primate jet. I loved it. They have their moments.
They've still got it.
I don't know. I was on a plane once and we could hear a dog barking in the hold.
Oh, dear.
No, I didn't know you could have living animals in the hold. You could
Oh, they
hear
do
it.
put them in the holes.
I thought it was freezing cold down there, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're meant to be.
To be
there's
fair,
meant
it was
be
a
climate
husky.
control.
That's why.
climate control
for the animals. I once saw a three-legged dog getting unloaded at Melbourne Airport.
You sure it was the photographer getting off a plane? Yeah, carry on.
And it was the happiest looking thing. It loved it. It loved its little adventure in Melbourne Airport.
Yeah, well, we were all distressed. This dog sounded like it was having a terrible time. What can you do in the hold? You can't. I thought there was a hatch through. There isn't. You can't go down into the hold like going down the basement.
Can't
So
you?
we just said no.
Oh, how do you enter then?
I think you have to get out and.
Oh, I haven't got time for all that. My time's money.
You'd have to land.
Frank, another reader. Have we got time?
Yeah, keep going.
294. Hi, Frank. Some years ago, I was in the bank waiting for the cashier, looking at the CCTV, another CCTV, and trying to figure out who the bald bloke in the queue was.
No, that can't be right, can you?
I've gone the full
Then I
number
realised
one.
I had a stocking over my head. Oh, no, carry on.
I've gone the full number one Clippers route now. It's the only dignified solution. Great show. Thanks for cheering me up. Does Emily go for the follically challenged gentleman?
Oh, God, we should never leave a pause like that again. Does Emily go? I thought, oh, my God, I'm going to have a seat. Well, I'm not. So the shame tent's not an option for me because...
Why not?
Because one minute you've got a shaved head, the next minute you're wearing an England shirt for social occasions.
This is
Frank Skinner, Absolute Radio.
So now, Frank, shall we take a trip?
Oh, let's do it.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me get my button. Here we go. Everybody, email corner. Communal singing, there isn't enough of that on commercial radio.
I like the way Steve sings it in a slightly threatening way.
Sure, what about if we do the show one week and we do it, all the music, we just do it live ourselves? Not having
do a Gregorian chanting of email corner.
we can stick to the playlist, but we'll just sing them. I think that'd be fine. I think that covers, as long as we don't repeat anything.
I've got a bell here from Mumford and Sons.
Yeah. I won't be doing
There's some dogs salivating at home now as well.
Oh, I could just eat a bit of dog salivating.
Oh.
Carry on.
We've had an email.
No, it's a food stuff. It's like lemon zest.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. It's
Heston Blumenthal's a big fan.
He is. I wonder when he found out he went bald.
Do you know
imagine he
was
was
looking at a cooking appliance.
Looking into
saucepan.
the glass... the glass door on an oven.
Frank got so excited about when Heston Blumenthal realised he went bald. He actually moved his chair away
what I
from
did,
the
I had
desk.
such a realistic image in my mind of an oven, I had to back off a little bit for the heat. No, I bet he was looking in to see how the sausages were doing, and he thought,
Yes.
hold on, I don't think I put a large cantaloupe in the oven, did I? Not with glasses on. Oh, what? Oh, my God.
I've got a question, like Beyonce. Question. Did he decide to don the glasses? Just like they're quite character glasses. I'm a big fan of Heston's, I should say, but was the glasses post-baldness, would you say, as men
I reckon,
in that situation?
I think
if you were?
post-baldness, because I reckon he saw himself in a ladle, and in the concave of the ladle, he looked like Humpty Dumpty.
So he
And
thought the
I'm
glasses
gonna
were giving
I'm gonna-
structure.
He looks like an intellectual Humpty Dumpty.
Yes.
Yes. But that's not bad for a cook, surely.
Yeah.
You could sneak in amongst the eggs and play tricks on the kitchen staff. Yeah. I'd like to know, if you're listening, Heston, when did you realise?
You can't make an omelette without being a broken egg.
No, exactly. So, yes. We're
Well,
in email.
email
corner.
corner.
In email corner.
So Richard has written in to say, Dear Frank, the Divine M, and Al, you mentioned Tupperware recently, and you said you were surprised they had it in the States. While doing my degree at Central St Martin's in the early 90s, one of my lecturers...
Can I say I didn't say the States, because only terrible people call America that.
Oh, yeah. Only people who've never been call it that.
He said that...
Do you think that?
That was a bit judgmental of me, wasn't it? Why
It
should
was.
everyone go to
Whereas
the States?
terrible people was completely broad-minded. Carry on.
Yeah, well,
He said you were surprised that they had it across the pond.
Yes.
And, whilst
Do
doing
they have it in the Big Apple?
maybe in San Fran.
Yeah, maybe they do.
I liked Frisco.
While doing my degree at Central St Martin's in the early 90s, one of my lecturers, now Professor Alison Clark, gave us a whole hour on Tupperware, as she had done her PhD on said subject while at the Royal College of Art. She even went and lived with a Tupper family in America, where everything was preserved in said plastic containers. I recall her mentioning them still using a month-old half onion that had been in the fridge. What a cracking lecture that must have been.
That's
Peter the
interesting.
Wild.
It's two interesting points there. I'd like to be at the funeral of one of the Tupperware family to see what the casket was like.
Yes.
Was it slightly see-through?
Yeah.
You don't want to see the cadaver like an apple. You know, you can see the apple. And those kids that brought their own lunches at school, there was always an apple. It was an apple for lunch. At no point during lunch do I think, oh, I'd love an apple. What, one of those tasteless things with like a hard stalk that they leave on one end? Forget about it.
I guess why I don't cry for them, because I had 70s dinner party leftovers in my lunchbox.
Yeah, but at least they didn't have an apple. That's better. You know what? I think we're going to have to come back to the top of it. It's a terrible place to break. I feel this is amateur radio at its very worst, but we have obligations to go to the news and all that. So first of all, adverts, and get the kettle on.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio, and I am with Emily Dean. Yes, that Emily Dean. And Steve Hall is guesting for us this week. But you're such a regular. I can't even call you friend of the show now. You're basically a squad member.
Fabulous.
Yeah, you've got your number.
Does that have a jingle or a song that goes with it?
Squad member! That's it. We're still working on it.
Strangest jingle I've ever heard.
Well,
I liked it.
Yeah, it's in its infancy. Let's say that. I cut you off, Steve. You mid-email.
Sounds like my father. He was saying that to me only the other week.
New readers who've tuned in during the news. People just switch on for the news and say, I'll hang around for a bit, see what's happening, and then I'll get the lawnmower out. Well, here's the thing. I was talking about Tupperware a few weeks ago, and how I thought it was a fabulous invention, one of the great iconic things, sadly underrated. And I love the moment when you open it, it goes... And someone sent in an email that their lecturer did a dissertation on Tupperware?
PhD on the subject.
Fantastic.
Well, in fact, this is where I slightly smell a rat.
Our better arguments were absolutely airtight.
No. You smell a rat, not in the Tupperware,
no,
please.
No, not at all. But with this email, because he mentions the name of the woman, Professor Alison Clark, and it turns out that if you Google Professor Alison Clark, she's got a book out all about Tupperware
So
called
you think
Tupperware: The Promise of Plastic in the 50s.
So you think this could be from Professor Alison
Well,
Clark?
it's from a bloke who calls himself Richard.
No, I think it's perfectly... Don't be so cynical.
Yeah.
I had to say I've cheated Tupperware on the onion front, because I've got half an onion in the fridge as we speak.
Oh, how could... That's barbaric. It's going to make everything else weak.
It sounds deeply euphemistic.
No, what I've done... Here, look at her. I bet she's got half an onion in the fridge, if you know what I'm saying. No, what I did is I had a pasta sauce tub.
Oh.
And I cleaned that out and I put it in there.
Oh, you were lucky. It must have been a snug fit, that onion.
Oh, it fitted. It was half onion. I wouldn't have got the whole in.
No.
The half. It was shoulder to shoulder in there. I wouldn't have wanted to put, say, a chaffinch in with it.
No.
That would have been cruel in the extreme. But and also when you took the corpse of the chaffinch out, it would have the rings of the onion pressed into the feathers. That's not how you want them to go. But yeah, so I recycled.
Oh.
Little tip there for anyone who's trying to save the planet. Obviously that'll be girls at secondary school. I don't think anyone else cares anymore about. Do you?
People read The Road and then they're happy to see the whole thing finish.
I just think, it's the sort of thing you're interested in as a project at school. But I don't think many adults are into the global thing anymore, are they? It's died out a bit. Anyway,
a message of hope for Easter weekend there.
There you go. But I recycle my pasta tubs. How does it go? This Is that the end of that?
No,
the end.
he carries on. He says that Professor Alison Clarke, top quality author.
Oh, God, such a plug. Bitch.
She also
Oh, yeah.
also said that about top sellers from Tupperware parties in the 50s winning cars. And it was a fascinating and slightly worrying insight into the almost cultish aspect of what is just a plastic container.
Well, I think just a plastic container is a bit unfair. The
Well, it's-
grip.
yeah.
Also,
the
Steve,
airtime.
can I just go back to the book, which Steve dropped in there? Steve's doing like the PR for it or something. I think he's in. This is like You Say We Pay It. Some scandal is just going to come out.
Do you think anyone ever cried at that Tupperware book? Maybe when The Onion came out.
It's fascinating that apparently Tupperware was featured. The Museum of Modern Art in New York in 1956 featured Tupperware
Really?
Yeah, but I
as
think
part of an exhibition.
I'm glad to hear this because I think it is an underestimated. I don't think I could live without it.
Tupperware. Can't live with it. Can't live with it. without
Exactly.
it.
That's the sort of relationship I've got with
Yeah.
Tupperware. It's love-hate.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
We're still in email corner.
Well, we have, but we've heard from a few of our readers.
Oh, that's okay. We can throw in text call. I think there is a text annex.
Yeah.
In
Okay.
Email corner.
I like being in there. 546, I've got what is turning out to be a long-standing disagreement with my girlfriend who thinks that I've got 3 of her best Tupperware lunchboxes. I haven't. I'll be quoting it's just a plastic box next time it comes up. Thanks for the ammo.
Can you not say it's just a plastic box? It very much isn't.
Oh, dear.
Say they were big in the 50s. That's what you should say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dear Frank, Emily and Steve, there was a children's show called Erie, Indiana in the 90s, which was a bit Twilight Zone. They had an episode with a Tupperware coffin.
Oh.
There were Stepford wives in there that never aged, that is all.
Yeah. Good show here, India. I think Gary Cole. I think that's who
Gary
played
Coleman.
Who played Midnight Caller.
I wish it had been Gary Coleman.
so do I.
That'd explain the Tupperware coffin.
Yeah, well, very
It's
much.
just a normal sandwich box. Where's John Mowley? He's dead, isn't he, Gary Coleman?
He
Sometimes
is.
I shouldn't be talking about his coffin disrespectfully. Can I say I meant no respect to his profound and deep essence.
He never got the money back off the parents. Just saying.
No, I know.
I know.
That's a terrible story.
It's awful.
What was Willis talking about? Did we ever find out?
He should have called his autobiography something connected to that, the guy who played Willis, shouldn't he? He could have just called it what I was talking about.
Did he write an autobiography?
Well, he would have now,
Yeah.
wouldn't he?
Well, he's one of the few surviving.
Is he still around?
Yeah, he's the one who's
Because the curse of different strokes.
Dana Plato departed too early.
Well, when they call it the curse of, isn't it just time passing? And
I don't know what age they died at,
Oh,
but
I
they
see.
did, yeah, the curse
it's-
of different
Yeah.
strokes.
Dana
It's
Plato was only 35.
the drugs as well, yeah.
What was she called?
Dana Plato.
I love that Steve knows that.
Yeah, he's a
Her parents were obsessed with Eurovision winners and philosophers.
aren't we all? Yeah.
That's chapter 7.
My son, Abba
My memoirs.
Wittgenstein. So,
Brotherhood of Man Spinoza. Never quite.
Katrina and the Waves, Kant. That's what I've heard. So,
Oh, Frank.
hey,
Is it time to go on to email
yeah,
two?
email 2, come on.
Okay, here we go.
Come on.
Brace yourselves,
I mean,
everyone,
come on!
for the Aeneid.
That was what I reckon happened. Harry was at the barber's and he says, going a bit thin on top, sir. I mean, come on! Watch it! That's what I think happened there. The barber thought, oh, God, I wish I hadn't said anything there. How awkward.
Hello, Frank, Emily and Alan. Sorry about that, Steve.
I mean, just watch it, that's all. Harry's
The
completely lost it in the barber.
little leather friendship bracelet rattling around on his
Yeah,
wrist.
exactly.
Greetings from Wolverhampton. Not my words, clearly.
Let's move on.
But the words from Sue. Frank mentioned his lack of belief in fainting recently.
Yeah, there's no such thing.
I too
It's
never
a choice. Fainting, it's a choice. That's what my book's called.
I too never believed, but I did have an experience in my 20s where I think I fainted. Perhaps you can tell me if this was the real deal or not.
Okay.
At the time in the 80s, I worked for MAF. Now, I think that's the Ministry of Agriculture, Steve. Over to Wikipedia.
Agriculture,
Wikistevia.
forestry and fisheries.
Oh, lovely.
Thank you, Wikistevia. And I'd been on a near starvation diet for a month. Lovely.
Okay.
Congratulations. I was sent out early one cold winter morning to a farm in North Yorkshire to take temperature readings in chicken sheds. The sheds were hot and dusty. I spent 4 hours there and then went to
Wow.
give blood before going back to the office.
Hold on a minute. This is the holy trinity of fainting, isn't it? I didn't eat for a week. I gave blood, and obviously spending time in a hot chicken shed. That brings it up.
This isn't Cormac McCarthy, hasn't written it with this.
Yeah. Why didn't she go and see One Direction live? This woman was trying to faint.
On returning, I had to give a verbal report to my boss, a professor, lovely man and stereotypical boffin.
Oh, let me guess. Was it Professor Alison?
Writing her
These are all emails
legendary
from Professor
Alison
Alison
Clark. Currently available on Amazon. This involves standing by his desk and talking him through the data. I didn't feel well, so twice or thrice I said, I think I need to sit down, but he didn't hear me. Eventually, my knees buckled. My feet stayed on the floor, my knees just buckled. I heard my head hit the filing cabinet on the way down, but felt no pain.
So her feet were still on the floor, but
Yes.
she heard her head hit the filing
Yes.
cabinet.
As soon as I hit the floor, I heard my boss ask,
She went down like one of those. Remember those things that used to be on a stand and you press the bottom of it? Like it used to be a giraffe and they used to just sort of collapse.
the legs would just go.
Wow.
As soon as I hit the floor, I heard my boss ask, are you all right, Susan? So my hearing was fully operational. I wanted to say...
Very scientific.
But couldn't speak. Yes, I just prefer the view down here. So my sarcasm button was fully functional.
You see? No faint.
Having never believed in fainting, I still don't know if I fainted, mainly because I could still hear and be sarcastic in my head. Frank's opinion may help me decide. That's
Well,
what
my
Sue-
opinion is, having listened to several hours of chicken shed temperature data, you collapse through boredom.
This is
Frank Skinner, Absolute Radio.
052 has texted in and suggested a tearjerker book, Champion, the book about Bob Champion and Alden Eaty winning the Grand National.
Oh, yeah, I don't, I was thinking of novels, though, really. I think
that doesn't
non-fiction, there's also probably quite a lot of them, because there's a lot of terrible, tragic stories.
I do like the reminder of Alden Eaty, because that takes me back to a time when horses were celebrities, which I like. And they're not why did horses stop being famous?
You're right.
Red Rum, Shergar, remember those guys?
Desert Orchid.
Desert Orchid. Name me one famous horse, celebrity horse.
Well,
in the
there's
last
probably
10
people
years.
who could, but people could text in loads of famous horses there, but the
Yeah.
truth is they'll be horse racing people.
Yeah, yeah.
Because every now and again you hear, and I used to, because my dad was mad on horse racing, I used to know quite a bit about it, but you hear now things like the greatest racehorse of all time, Mumble Envelope. And I think, I've never heard of this
Whereas Red Rum-
horse. Whereas they were household names.
They were actual celebrities.
Now, of course, they're household foods. No, but yeah,
They
it's-
were showbiz horses,
You're right.
and they're not showbiz anymore.
they're not. People didn't know.
They've been knocked off the front
There
pages.
was always one famous horse.
We had Arkle in the 60s.
Oh, cool, yeah. Brigadier Gerard. Do you know that one? Am I going obscure now? Shergar was probably the last big name.
I would say
Desert Orchid.
I would say
Yeah.
Red Rum was like Justin Bieber. The amount of coverage he got, honestly.
Well, it was the graduate...
Didn't he go missing? Something bad happened. A bad thing happened. I
To-
can't
to
Red
who?
Rum?
To-
Yeah.
No,
No,
I did a corporate with Red Rum. I did a corporate with him.
A very demanding rider.
I think it was.
Oh,
Yeah, he was. I made him get off it. Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Well, Lee Mack used to be a stable boy, didn't he?
That was the first horse that Lee Mack ever rode, was Red Rum. And I once walked
that right?
past a pub in Smethwick,
He
where
broke him
I
in.
lived. And someone had written on the wall Red Rum, and then underneath it they'd written murder. Because you know Red Rum was murder
yeah.
backwards.
Oh,
But what I
yeah.
liked about
Shining.
that was obviously someone in the pub had said, well, of course you know Red Rum's murder backwards, and the other person couldn't visualise that, so they had to go out and write it on the wall. Times have changed.
Frank
Skinner,
on Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
you know, we were talking about celebrity horses.
Or
and
the
how
fact there aren't any.
there aren't any anymore.
No.
There weren't any past about 1985. But 132 has suggested Frankel, the greatest flat horse ever, has just retired, Frank.
But I think this proves your case, really, because I've heard of Frankel, but he's not a household name. He or she.
Yeah.
Well, not
Presumably.
according to Mark, who said Frankel-Ledge.
Well,
Yes.
Frankel was big in Australia. It was.
Oh, maybe Frankel Ledge is one of the lesser-known monsters that was created.
Yeah, Frankel Ledge. He was a bit scary. He used to hide on shelves. He's not.
He's no Aldeniti.
No, he's no Aldeniti, and he's no Red Rom, and he's no.
Yeah.
He's no
And that's
Desert
because
Orchid.
Frankel's Australian. The famous Australian horse is Far Lap,
Yes.
which is in the Museum of Melbourne.
Well, his body's in the Museum of Melbourne.
Oh, God.
But his heart's
His heart is
in Alessandria.
His heart's in Canberra, I think, and I think his brain might be in another Australian thing.
Some bizarre Wizard
No, I'll
of
tell you what,
Oz.
his skeleton is somewhere, and his body's. I remember I stared at his body for ages, thinking, where did they take the skeleton out? There are no marks, and I thought they couldn't have possibly got it out. They couldn't have. You know when they used to put all the parts of a grand piano through a letterbox on Just a Knockout? They couldn't have pulled. They couldn't have pulled its skeleton out of its bottom, could they, without leaving any marks?
Oh, God.
This puzzled me for some years. I used to dream of walking past a police horse and going, woof! You know, when people can take take someone's shirt off when they've still got their jacket on. And suddenly the cop was just sitting on a brown beanbag. So anyway.
But Frankel is the reason. But me and my wife, we were going to call our firstborn son, if indeed we had a son, we were going to call him Frank after her granddad.
Yes.
But then it would have been Frank Hall, which. And he would have been half Australian, so we can't call it. So we're calling him.
What?
Red
But then
Rum
we could have
instead.
said Frankel Ledge.
But your
is what I
wife's
would have
Australian, isn't she?
Yes.
So that would have been perfect in a way, because
said. Yes,
the
she is,
horses...
but she's very bright.
Oh, well, fair enough. You know, there's
I can say that I'm half Antipodean. Oh, I love the sound of your wife, I have to say.
No, I take the point that Frankel he's famous. He's a very good racehorse, but he's not a big celebrity. He just isn't.
Exactly, he's not going to be in the bizarre column posing with Gordon Smart, is
He's
he?
not, I bet you
He's
I
not going to be doing
never.
a corporate with Frank.
No, I bet you I never do a corporate with Frankel, even though the billing would look great, Frank and Frankel. No, I'm not accepting that. Sorry. Sorry, Frankel, if you're listening.
Someone's 132's texted in to say Frankel's English, Black Caviar's the Australian one. So my entire basis
Oh,
for
so
that,
you lied to us then.
I got it completely wrong.
Makes me wonder. No, we're always on about how knowledgeable.
Well, Stevepedia is, I have to say, that nickname is hanging in the balance.
Well, once you called him Stevepedia, he started having wrong facts on him. So maybe it's actually perfect.
There's been some malicious editing.
I had a terrible moment with Faye Tozer when I said, so you're really keen on trampolining? And she said, I don't know what you're talking about. As if I'd said something quite rude to her. And it was on Wikipedia.
Was that on your chat show, darling?
No, it was on a quiz show. But
okay.
she looked affronted that I'd suggested that she'd trampoline. I mean, you know, that's a good thing to say about someone, isn't it?
It's particularly peculiar that someone would be so offended by it.
Yeah,
it
no,
implies
you know,
there is some truth.
I would have just
As you
lied
can
to help you
imagine,
out.
I had hours of funny trampolining jokes lined up. I bought her a sports bra and everything. That was wasted.
This is
Frank Skinner, Absolute Radio.
Some of you might listen to this show and Steve Hall's on, and you think, I can't. Well, but what does Steve Hall do with his week? We don't hear enough about what Steve gets up to, where he goes. That's what you're thinking. You're thinking he's an interesting guy. Maybe I can learn.
Yeah. Hey, we need a Steve's Week jingle, really, Frank. You need to... Come on. You're good
Okay.
at improvising them.
Steve's week.
I just worry that.
Sorry, I misspelled that. W-E-A.
It does sound more like a review than a jingle.
I love being in the Deep South.
Yeah.
Anyway, as you were...
Paul Robeson version.
Yeah.
Steve's week.
Poor Judd is dead.
You can hear the suffering in that.
Yeah, that implies I've just been badly beaten up. You go, why is he taking such a shoeing?
Yeah.
So, Steve,
Come on.
tell us about
Well,
your
I've had a lovely week.
Okay, there you go.
Okay.
There'll be another
Anyway.
episode of Steve's week.
I was on Deal or No Deal. We'll get to that in a minute.
I had quite an emotional weekend last weekend because I went to the Teenage Cancer Trust gig at the Albert Hall, curated by Noel Gallagher, and featuring Damon and Graham from Blur.
Oh yes, I read about this.
And so it was the great thawing in the Britpop wars.
It's interesting that because I'd completely forgotten about the whole Blur versus Oasis thing until it was over.
Yeah, it's very 90s, wasn't it?
You don't get those kind of rivalries now, do you? You don't get sort of Coldplay versus who would that be? Keane.
Mumford and
It's in the
Sons.
same way
Keane.
that there's
Coldplay versus Keane. Can you imagine that as a big
no more
rival?
famous horses, no more great Britpop rivalries.
No, exactly.
We need to engineer Frankel versus Black Caviar.
You could have Catherine Jenkins versus the Archangel Michael. The rematch.
I'm sure you get Nicki Minaj versus someone. She seems quite an argumentative soul, if you ask me.
But you don't get... I can't think of a rivalry like that, can you?
Well, and that's the thing, the enemy will often try and create that Liam Gallagher will say something mean about someone, but it'll generally get ignored.
No, I'd say One Direction versus Frankel. Okay, so you went to that, and in which camp were you?
Well, I was neither camp because they were both brilliant bands, so it was always a bit of it was a kind of a nonsensical thing, the Britpop wars, because they're both fantastic bands. And the reality of that year, 1995, Robson and Jerome were at number one for 11 weeks.
Wow.
Combined in 1995. So there was a sort of fake war because there was loads of really good music.
Who would have thought that would culminate in extreme fishing?
Yes.
Yeah, well, that does sum it up. When people talk about Vienna, that was a fantastic song, but kept off number one by Shut Up Your Face.
Joe Dolce, yeah.
I think justice was done there, but never mind.
And so it was...
Well, it means nothing.
So it was lovely. They did tender together, and it was a genuinely moving moment. But unfortunately, that had been preceded by 20 minutes of Damon Albarn being Damon Albarn.
Oh.
God bless him. He's my absolute favourite band, Blur. But he likes his ill-advised side project, and so it was him,
He gets
Graham.
quite experimental.
Yes, it was him, Graham, and Paul Weller noodling with a sort of jazzy soundtrack, while a poet from the 60s who looked incredibly like Wilfred Bramble. Was in a tank top, was kind of going, oh, war and bombs and teenage
Who
trust.
was it?
It
This
was
sounds
Michael Horowitz.
Was it really?
Yeah.
I thought it might be. I don't know Michael Horowitz, but he did a gig at my dentist's.
Oh, did he?
And my
You've got quite a showbiz dentist,
My
haven't you?
dentist has things like alternative cabaret and art exhibitions in his waiting room. And my girlfriend's sister Rachel, who I think of as my sister-in-law, she bought one of his paintings, and he.
did she?
She said, "The thing is, I'm on my bike," and he said, "Oh, it's all right," and he gaffer taped it to her back. He's a bit of a character. So where was the gig at?
I
It was
think-
at the Albert Hall.
Oh, it's a
that Horowitz?
it's a whore fest. This anecdote.
Oh,
Well, it was.
God.
It's one of the great things
Oh,
about
I'm
seeing.
worried Michael Horowitz is going to turn into the Milton Berle of this week.
I'm just worried he's going to turn up.
Anyway,
It's one of the great things about being at the Albert Hall for a gig where it's indie bands is people who've gone because it's a swanky place to see a gig, and then they're horrified
Lovely.
by the behaviour of particularly
The
some
Horowitz.
of Noel, the Horowitz at the end of Oxford now, and so people were throwing glasses when Noel was on. People had plastic glasses with liquid in, and there were some people who were clearly
God.
appalled by the fact that there was any of this behaviour going on. But it reminded I had unwisely I'd made the mistake. I'd worn one of my nicest jumpers, and I'd forgotten.
I'm guessing it was for Fred Perry.
Yeah, it was
For
a Fred
Blur.
Perry. Yeah,
Of course
yeah.
it was.
yes, of course it was.
And I'd forgotten the liquid lottery when a drink hits you at a music gig and you think it could be beer.
Yes, don't
or
say it.
It could be something
It never
else.
happens to me. They can't reach up that high into the box.
And I had to, so I thought, well, it doesn't matter. I'll enjoy the gig. And I thought, because often you only discover the results of the lottery sometime after the gig when you're able to smell your clothes again. And I thought, so I had a sniff of my jumper. I thought, oh no, I've got away with it. It's just beer. And then my wife gave me a hug when I got home and went, oh, dear Lord.
Well, you're
and
lucky.
it was the other thing.
You're lucky it wasn't Miss Dior. Perfume. Oh, what about if she smelt that? She'd never believe that was thrown over you at a gig. That's what they should do at a gig. They should spray perfume on men and get them into trouble. What about that for a ruse? Okay, so you enjoyed it, though.
I absolutely loved it. It
Oh,
was,
well,
but that's the thing, that even when Damon is being difficult, he's always interesting. I've got memories of him
How do you
on
think
fantasy football.
How do you think his voice
Yes.
goes live?
He does all right. I mean, thancfully, he was letting Michael Horowitz do most of the singing.
Okay.
So even someone singing badly was a relief.
That's a
after that.
sentence that's never been spoken.
I remember Damon being a bit peculiar on fantasy football.
Yeah, I remember him being a prat.
I remember him reading the NME.
Yes. And drinking a bottle of red wine. Get over it.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio. I'm with Emily Dean and I'm with Steve Hall.
We've just had this text in.
For example,
from Vanessa. Hi, Frank, Emily and Steve.
is it Vanessa Hodgkins?
I don't know.
I don't know who that is. It's a name I see on the Mail Online.
I'm so delighted that you know her. She's in your lexicon, your sphere of
I
reference.
saw him. Vanessa Paradino is modelling for, is it H&M?
Oh, I thought that was Vanessa Redgrave. I
No,
was
it's
going to buy that range if it was...
Paradis. Is how you get over Johnny Depp. You model for H&M.
Glad you didn't
Could be
say
worse.
H&M.
It could be H&E. Which is a health and efficiency magazine, which is a naturist organisation, which is all we had in the 70s.
Oh, that and the Gratin catalogue. Hi, Frank, Emily and Steve. Great show as always. Not sorry about the praise. Not sure if this has already been a suggestion, but what about a whole series showing Frank heading off to Los Angeles to pursue his American comedy career called Frank He Goes to Hollywood? I quite like that. Happy
Yeah.
Easter, 394.
The title's all right, but the level of despair, it'd be right up there. It'd make Cormac McCarthy feel like Willy Wonka. And is it
Right.
Willy Wonka or is it Charlie? I've always been very confused about that.
Can you imagine the voiceover? Frank's meeting did not go well.
Is it the book that's Willy Wonka? The book is Charlie.
Charlie.
Look, it's
yeah,
Charlie.
The film is Willy Wonka.
Yeah. Frank, what about
Ridiculous.
Frank's meeting did not go well? It's going to be awful.
Oh no, yeah, can you imagine that? Oh no, I've had some really productive meetings with some people out there. We're waiting to see what happens. Got a couple of things in the pipeline. Oh, can you imagine it?
Meanwhile, Frank's manager is arguing with the promoter.
No, that show is not
It's not
going
gonna
to
happen.
No. Oh no. There is a place in Birmingham called Hollywood that show could happen. I'm still waiting for Frank Skinner's North Korea. I've heard nothing.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Apparently
You'd be
there's
so good on that.
been a bit of a hiccup this week, apparently, with them declaring war on South Korea.
You get on with people, you'd win him round.
So that's why Aid Edmondson is wise to the Yorkshire Dales. Who are they going to declare war on? Anyway,
Steve's week.
Steve's week. What else did you do, Steve?
Well, it's been a cultural extravaganza because I had never seen. It's often quoted in the top 100 films of all time. Charlie Chaplin's Modern Times.
Yes, of course.
And they did a screening of it with a live orchestral score.
You caught it late.
I caught it very late.
Yeah.
77 years after it was first released.
With a live score. Carl Davis?
Carl Davis,
Of
indeed,
course,
yes.
he's made a living out of live scores. I went to one of those. Was it Albert Hall again?
This was the Royal Festival Hall.
Another hall.
Well, yeah.
Is that what you do? You go
He
to
only does
halls
halls.
all week.
I
Yeah.
tried.
Is your real name Hall, or do they call you Steve Hall because you go to
Everything
halls?
about him is Hall. His favourite
Yeah.
book is Radcliffe Hall.
Yeah.
He'll only read Hall-based. Toad of Toad Hall he likes as well, don't
Jerry
you?
Hall,
Yeah.
he was engaged to.
My real name's actually Steve Auditorium.
Oh, what amazing. So, okay, so you went to see that. Brilliant.
And I, having never seen it, me and the wife having talked about crying earlier, we got very emotional. There's a bit at the end, it was absolutely fantastic. And then
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
and then this is at the end, Carl Davis points to the screen and a photo of Charlie
Can
Chaplin
I stop you
comes
there?
up.
Can I stop you there? I went to see, I can't remember which Charlie, the one with the blind flower girl.
Oh, that narrows it down.
City
City Lights, yeah.
I went to see that, and Carl Davis came on at the end, and he pointed at a picture of Charlie Chaplin, and everyone applauded, and I cried.
Well, that makes me feel all right then.
Yeah.
That makes me
So-
feel like he's turning out the same old trick.
It was slightly
Yeah.
different. I had no idea he was dead. And they didn't break it to me gently. They just, whoa. I was thinking I'm going to start watching his films on a regular basis. No, but I did exactly that.
That's great.
You
'Cause it was-
two are like two peas in an edamame. That's what I'm calling you.
It was so fantastic. There were little kids in the screening, and as they left, they were all doing the tramp walk.
Really?
It was fantastic. But there's a thing in that film I
think they have
having
those
never
skinny
seen that
jeans.
film. The fact that there's a cocaine joke in a film made in 1936.
Can I just say
astonishing.
that Absolute Radio don't even acknowledge the existence of cocaine?
No.
I don't remember that joke. But can you tell us off air?
Yeah.
I will not have a cocaine joke on this show. We've already played Lost for Life. I mean, it was turning into some sort of opium den.
This is
Frank Skinner, Absolute Radio.
Have you ever seen Circus, the Charlie Chaplin?
No.
One of the funniest things I've ever seen is Charlie Chaplin on a tightrope with a monkey biting his nose. And
Justin Bieber.
it's very Justin Bieber. But you can see he's properly biting his nose, and they've thought just keep the camera on.
Let it slide.
Anyway, there's probably enough Charlie Chaplin. I saw the cabinet of Dr. Caligari accompanied by live percussive dulcimers.
Did you?
Anyway,
You love a bit of Chaplin, you two.
I tell you who's had a bit of a week this week.
Who?
You.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well-
I watch you on the telly.
I did have a little TV appearance this week. Can you imagine? I've been burning to talk about this experience for so long. I feel like I've been injuncted. I feel like, because obviously, spoiler alerts, Frank.
Yeah.
You can't say anything, can you?
We should say that you were on Deal or No Deal.
I was on Celebrity Deal or No Deal.
So obviously, yes, I'm sorry, I forgot the word celebrity.
Yes, thank you. You know, someone tweeted me and said, I thought it was for celebrities. What were you doing on it?
Well, that's lovely, isn't it? You know what? Haters gonna hate. Yes, so obviously you couldn't talk about it
No.
because we're not supposed to know the result. You didn't even tell me the result.
I didn't.
I think we can. Should we say the result
Yeah,
now?
we can say the result now.
What about if people are watching it on VOD?
Oh, it's fine. It's been a week now. So it was Jonathan Ross's Celebrity Deal or No Deal, and it was a charity that I'm kind of involved with as well, which is why I was there. And I'm a close personal friend. But it was he raised £20,000, which is pretty amazing.
Yes.
And I was relieved because I thought, can you imagine? And imagine if I'd have been the one with the bad box. Oh.
I think I've said before that Deal or No Deal, though, would be a better show if it was somebody sitting with a nuclear missile pointed at Kent. And if you didn't get it right, they took out Deal completely.
It's weird when people text you, Frank, when you're on telly, you get the text, don't you? You get saying, oh, just watching you. And I never know what to say because it's during...
I never get texts anymore.
That's awkward.
I wait for them. I do a show, I have a new series start, I think the text... Sometimes I think, well, I better put my phone off or I won't be able to sleep with all the texts coming in.
Yeah.
I get nothing.
Oh, it's all gone a bit Frankie Goes to Hollywood.
does, yeah.
Frank is waiting for text.
And then it'll be me saying, no, I don't know. I mean, have I changed my number recently? We all know.
But no, I got one saying nice dress.
I must say, you look beautiful on there.
You did. You looked great. It was.
Oh, you watched it
I
as
watched
well?
it. Yeah.
Yeah, you did look
Oh,
great.
thank you, boys.
You had quite a bad box.
Do you know, that was what... Well, they teach you beforehand. You have to
Do
go
they?
to box school when you go there.
Shut up.
There were
You
quite
do.
a few. There were quite a few people who struggled with the.
Well, they
the
gave
tab.
us a weird
Yeah.
technique, me included, which was mortifying. But I had Noel standing over me in that purple shirt tucked in. And,
Really?
and he was wearing Louboutins, I noticed, as well.
Was he?
Slightly raised.
Yes, was he?
Yeah.
Well, God, he was close. If you could spot that.
But Frank, they take you to box school. So before you get... There's one of those runners who looks about 17.
Yeah.
And it's an industrial
That's
estate.
because they'll be about 17.
Yeah. It's an industrial estate in Bristol. Quite bleak.
Oh, it's in Bristol, is
Quite
it?
bleak
Deal or No
house
Deal?
there.
Okay.
I think Noel helicopters in and then goes straight off afterwards. He doesn't hang around.
I always think of Bristol as a very nice city. This was quite a
Well, I
terrible-
did.
I suppose they're...
I did up until that. But they come in and they say, right, we'll teach you how to open the box. They sent me literature
Of
beforehand.
course, they've stopped the slavery there now. We should point that out. In case you've gone off. That put you off.
They say, there was a list of rules. It said, don't laugh at the amount, respect the box, don't look inside others' boxes,
Yes.
don't put rubbish near the box, and always hold your box open for at least 10 seconds.
Oh,
There were strict
okay.
rules about that.
Yeah. Okay.
They taught us how...
It does.
Oh.
Surely this is the guidebook for the adult film industry. Oh, yeah.
It's great seeing the mental Rolodex at work.
I know, it's terrible, isn't it? Well, it was... I hadn't watched it for a long time because I have a problem with the way randomness is regarded as a skill.
Yeah.
So people, you say, come on, you can do this for me. I want people to stop and say, what can I do? It's
Yeah.
already in the box.
It's true.
But you get carried away, and it was quite exciting, I must say.
I got quite into it, and I did find myself... Why Why did I find myself, I think it's this cosmic ordering, I was oddly attracted to Noel. What is that, Frank?
Well,
Is it the power? Because I don't know.
has he changed? I mean, he hasn't changed for years now.
Yeah.
Has he not let his beard grow a little higher than it used to be?
Well, the colour's changed a bit, let's be honest.
No, but I think
I was
it's
looking
higher.
at him, and it was something that he sort of looked like Swiss Tony crossed with a BG. That kind of.
Yeah, but he's not manicured so much his beard now. I think he's let it go its own way a little bit on the upper cheek.
It's gone a bit Peter the Wild on his facial hair.
And then Jonathan Ross had got a beard on the same show. I thought any minute now they're going to pass a can of Tennant Superlager to each other. It did look a bit like that. But no, he's gone a little bit, I'd say Noel's gone a little bit rough and ready. That's what I'm going to say.
Frank
Skinner.
on Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
Another thing about Noel, I find, I'll be starting a lot of sentences with that in the coming weeks. I've got mentionitis with Noel.
Yeah.
I think it's the swap shop thing has come back. I can't quit him. He refers to you by name a lot. So he'll say, "So Emily, this is big money. It's a big moment, Emily. What's going to happen, Emily? What is in your box, Emily?"
Oh, okay.
I think that's part of his cosmic ordering.
For me, the highlight of the whole show is the music started to go into the adverts, and he turned to camera and he went, "This is fun." And I thought, no one says that anymore. That's how fantastic.
Well, there was a moment in the show that I wanted to ask about what it was like in real life, where when he talked to the genuinely insane comedian Paul Chowdhury.
Yes.
And Paul Chowdhury, it turned out, had been on Noel's house party.
Well, had he, or was that a hoax?
No, he had. He genuinely had, I think.
And you could see on Noel's face that he was trying to work out whether he'd been unpleasant to him.
Yes. Noel's an old pro. He recovered well there. I think he played it safe. I think that was a genuine moment. I think he had been on Noel's house party. So I think Noel did the right thing.
Yeah.
What I want to know is there a banker?
Yes, there is.
There is a person
Because
on
I
the
asked
phone to the
Jonathan.
phone.
Well, Jonathan set me up with him. I'm going. I'm
No,
going
but
on a
I
date.
always think it's a bit like Sonny Hammond and Skippy. You know, what's that, Skip? Helicopter crash. I always think it's like that, and there is no banker.
No,
but
there is a man.
There is a person.
There is
on.
a man. Yeah.
I'm amazed that person hasn't been exposed in the papers and stuff. The
To be
banker.
fair, he hasn't done anything that
No,
criminal
but I mean-
activity. When you say
I'm not suggesting he's on the tree. I'm thinking. I'm surprised that we haven't seen an interview with the banker, as he's such a big part of the show.
Maybe he's the stick. He's the stick.
A 1970s
He's
TV
the-
producer.
He's the stick. Is he really? What, the shoulder bag?
I believe so. Yeah.
Hello, love.
Yes. I don't know. I think it is like the Stig, though. We can't reveal too much about it. But anyway, well, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Because I did a TV series a number of years ago with the comedians Greg Davis and Merritt Larwood.
Yes.
And
What was the name of that
It
TV
was called
series?
We Are Clang.
Yes.
And when we were filming some of the stuff on location, there was a young kid. And I knew I'd seen him from somewhere, and I couldn't work out where I recognised him from. I was like going, have you done stand-up gigs? And he revealed it very grudgingly. He went, oh yeah, I was on Deal or No Deal. And as soon as he said that, I went, oh yeah, I know exactly who you are. Your name is Errol. And he got down to his final two boxes. He got 20 grand and 250 grand.
Yeah.
And it was one of the most exciting things I'd ever seen, where the banker offered him £101,000.
My goodness.
And he no-dealed, opened his box and got 20 grand. And he told me, and I'd remembered all that.
So
and,
YouTube spoiler alert.
and I'd remembered all this, and so he went, well, that's very impressive. And I went, and you happy that you took the 20, that you ended up with just the 20 grand? And he went, well, I'm an extra on your show, aren't I?
Yeah, why would he be happy that he'd done that?
It was, you know what, I was so excited to meet him that my interviewing
That's
process.
incredible you remembered all that.
Well, he used to do
Also,
rhymes.
Yeah, you were completely wrong about Frankel.
I like that you're
right.
criticising Steve for his social interaction when you are the man that said to someone who'd recently split up with his wife, oh, well, every cloud, because he looked good.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're right. But, you know, that is that you lose weight when a big
This is true,
relationship
Frank.
ends because you're upset, and that's God's way of getting you ready for the next one. Shall we go to
Yes.
email corner? I'm thinking maybe it's time for a new email corner jingle.
A new jingle.
Maybe. Carry on. Anyway.
So it's time for the next email. I think Steve should read it.
Absolutely. We've had an email from Mikey, who said, "Can I say I'm utterly delighted to find another person who has an obscure crush on Vince Cable."
Oh, Frank, yeah, of course,
because
Frank.
this is Emily's. What is the phrase? Would but shouldn't.
Yeah.
Vince Cable, ladies and gentlemen, in case you're not aware of this. Do you still feel those feelings for him now that he's joined the axis of evil?
Yeah, I know. It will never change. I can't help how I feel. It's like Noel Edmonds.
It's like Liesel falling for Rolf in Sound of Music, and then he becomes a Nazi.
It's not dissimilar.
Okay, so this person likes
and he carries on.
Mikey.
I've always found my confession to be met with confusion, but Emily has confirmed my love. Then again, my obscure crush has moved totally to Alain de Botton.
I'm a fan of his as well.
He then says if Emily's ever in Macclesfield, but he then corrects himself and says, "Don't worry, I've moved to London anyway. I'm not straight, so it'd be more of a bishop's move than a knight's move."
Surely it'd be can you say a queen's
He also
move?
says, which I like, much love, darlings.
Yeah.
Mikey. Can I just say, I love the sound of Mikey.
So it turns out that Vince Cable appeals to both. He's like a European adapter plug.
This is
Frank Skinner, Absolute Radio.
This week...
I wasn't the only one on telly.
No,
apparently.
I was on Sky News.
Sky News weather, I heard.
Well, I spoke to the weather lady.
I was going to say thanks for stealing my thunder.
I got... It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. But Isabel Lang. That wasn't a question. That's a name. I don't know. You know, I've met many celebrities, but for some reason, when I was on Sky News, I thought, oh God, that's the person I watch over breakfast, and it's because you don't see him on anything else. It's like entering a secret world. Anyway, so I was. I'm doing this show right with me and Joan Batewell.
Oh, lovely.
You know, I don't talk about my TV work, but I consider this is more like a social service.
Could you thank her belatedly for letting us stay in her house briefly in 1981, I think it was?
Were you squatters?
No, we sort of had nowhere to live, I think.
Was that?
Oh, okay.
So she let us stay there for about a month when we got back from what a lovely house it was.
Was this
lovely.
post Harold Pinter for her?
Oh, we can't talk about that.
I don't know if you're allowed to mention. Yes. She's fessed up to that.
Yes.
Yeah.
She has. Anyway, as you were.
I think she started the slogan, a pinter per person per day. Anyway.
Good work with this woman.
You know, you don't get many Harold Pinter jokes on Absolute Radio. I've often said that.
Not since Francis left.
I think I've done my bit. Now,
so you're doing, it's the Portrait Artist of the Year.
do you know she's the first woman to interview Nelson Mandela after he came out of prison?
Is that
First
right?
person, in fact.
Wow.
Yeah, quite a thing.
She looks great as well, still.
Yeah. Oh, and I don't, is what I think the subtext of that is. No, so anyway, the idea, I'm not plugging the show, but it is a good thing. If anyone listens to this who does art, and I bet there are, send a self-portrait look on the website at Sky, and you could be...
I might do.
We're looking for the Portrait Artist of the Year, basically, so we could change someone's life completely. So honestly, if you paint, have a go.
Yeah.
And if you put a note saying you listen to the show, I'll see if I can get you through to the quarterfinals.
Oh, God.
But it made me think. I haven't done any art for ages. Used to love it at school. You know, when you're in school, it's just something you do. And when you
all the
leave
time.
school, you don't even consider. I'll come back to this because I want to know if you guys do it.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
We were talking about art on Absolute Radio.
Yeah, I tell you what I fancy doing. And when I was at school, we used to do those things where you cover a balloon in papier-mâché and then burst the balloon, you cut it in half, you got 2 masks to make.
That's
do you ever do that?
handy.
I never did that.
Brilliant. I'm going to do celebrity couples.
No, but I did do an oil painting of Henry VIII.
Did you?
Which I might show you. Well, it started off so well. It was so promising, and then I got bored. You know what kids are like halfway through.
Yeah.
So the Hampton Court is a fabulous realisation, and the ermine on the cloak.
Bloody
And then
God.
I gave up. Then I just did a triangle nose and 2 black dots. So it's all been let down by the balloon face.
You probably started something brilliant there. That would look like it was a statement.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring it in to show you.
I'd really like to see. Do you have any artistic talent in that?
I
Be
am the
honest.
worst. No, I'm honestly. People always say to me, "You can draw a bit. You can draw a bit." I can't, and I don't know what it is. I think there's too much self-expression. I don't want to give away too much of my story. You see, your girlfriend Kathy should be a professional artist.
Yes. But she won't. She just won't.
Well,
you
she
can
should.
lead a horse to water. And indeed to
She's-
Lidl, as it turns out. But no, she won't.
Have
do
you
it.
ever commissioned any art?
I wanted Kathy to.
I
draw something
once,
for me.
sort of. I once drove a Skoda. This sounds like a joke 'cause it's got a Skoda in it, but I would never do a Skoda joke. I used to drive a Skoda, and this guy wanted to buy it off me, and he offered me, I think it was 500 quid, and he'd do a painting of me.
Fantastic.
So that was the deal.
Brilliant.
And I've still got the painting. It looks like Billy Idol, but it's all right. It's all right. The painting. It's not great.
I got a woman. I've got no artistic talent, so I got a woman. There's a photo of me and my dad being shown round the Elstree Studios when I was a kid, and so it's me and my dad, and we're meeting Kermit.
Yeah, okay.
And I look absolutely terrified. And so I commissioned a woman, a very, very good artist and author and journalist called Sian Pattenden. Did a. And she gave me like a knockdown rate, so it's a photo. It's my favourite. My mum absolutely despises it.
It's
but
a painting of you, your dad, and Kermit.
and Kermit the Frog, based on a real life photograph.
You'll probably
And I
find
look
that
horrified.
Jim Henson, you probably owe him $1 million in image rights. You didn't interview Kermit as if it was a real person.
No,
Thank God for that.
I'm aware of that.
Frank won't tolerate that. He says it's unacceptable.
It's unacceptable. Okay, well, we come roughly to the end of the show. But if there is any artist listening, please enter that portrait thing for Sky Arts, because I'm hoping that it'll be someone who's new who wins it. Steve, thanks again for coming.
Cheers.
It's always a pleasure to see you.
Thank you.
And we'll be back this time. Well, if the good Lord spares us and the creeks don't rise, we'll be back again this time next week. Happy Easter. Doctor Who is 6:15, I think. BBC One. And now get out.
Frank
Frank Skinner.
on Absolute Radio.
Absolute